This is the Mountainside Podcast, and joining us in studio for this episode is Zach Petrone. He's the owner and operator of Rocky Mountain Strenght, specializing in a unique approach to mountain strength, fitness, durability, endurance, and so much more. If you're a backcountry hunter, ultra runner, or somebody that lives in the mountains, I highly recommend checking out Rocky Mountain Strenght, located just outside of Denver. And I really enjoyed sitting down and getting to know Zach today. This was a great conversation, and I hope that you enjoy the episode. Zach, nice to meet you, brother.
Nice to meet you, Bobby.
Thanks for coming up.
Yes, sir.
I've known about you for, God, I don't know. How long have you been in business? Did you start your business before COVID?
So I started 2020, November 2020, middle of COVID.
Okay.
So
damn, that's a crazy time to start a business.
Yeah, man. My original concept was Rocky Mountain Hunt Strong, which was that's on my personal Instagram page now. And so I started, the hunting fitness aspect of it all before I even had my own gym. And I was managing a franchise gym at the time. Middle of COVID, I had managed that gym for 5 years or so, kind of building into that management position at that time. And then it closed down, like a lot of gyms during middle of COVID. And so, for me, I was like, oh, everyone's collecting money from the government. This is a time I can go camping for the next 6 months, still, make some money. I was going to buy all the equipment from the gym and flip it because it was at a premium at that time. And, thank God I have a wife that's like, no, you're not going to do any of that. You're going to, go open a gym. This is your chance to, take that step and move forward with it. And so, I built some amazing relationships, over those 5-year periods. And, now I've been training and being in the industry since 2013. So, I opened the Rocky Mountain Strenght at that time, November 2020, and, had about 100 members that followed me right over. And that was kind of the jump start. I had no idea what was going to happen, if we were going to last, 6 months, a year, and
if they were going to shut down the country again.
Well, exactly.
It's a huge gamble.
100%. We started open that gym wearing masks and, whatever with the mask, but working out with those things, like, that's not fun. And I don't think that's,
Hell no.
a good thing to do, and
God, that was horrible, man. That was
horrible.
Just like,
yep.
Yeah, that was, I can't believe we even went through that. Like,
yeah.
I remember going to the gym and having to make like appointments up here.
Yeah.
Cause I work out at a gym it's one of the only like franchise gyms up here.
Sure.
Yep. But just to even get in there and that had to be frightening for you to start a business right then, because I was trying to build out my own gym in my garage at that time, which I'm so glad that I did.
Yep. But
I was even reaching out to some sponsors, because we have like On It and they make kettlebells. And I was like, hey, can you hook me up with a set of kettlebells? They were like, we can't even give Joe Rogan kettlebells right now. Was their response.
We have no product available.
Yeah. Which was insane, right? So like, how do you even get the equipment and the balls, I guess, to just go for it?
I mean, I emptied my life savings for that gym at that time, right?
Wow.
It was, make it or break it. And if that didn't work out, then, I really had no other plan at that time. Money was out, money was gone. It was everything I had to put into it. At the time I bought, came with a loan as well, used that money to buy the equipment from the franchise that they had at the time, which was huge, and it was a good starting point, and then got, a few extra things that I needed for the most part, and kind of scavenged around at other gyms that were closing at the time, and getting the big monster racks and things like that obviously you couldn't get online, or the premium of it was, outrageous. I mean, I think, for example, a pound, of weight was going for like almost $2.75 a pound. So you think of a $20, a 20-pound kettlebell, do the math there for one kettlebell, and now it's like, you could say $1, $40.30 a pound is where you can get, a lot of that weight. So way overpriced, and if you bought it at that time and then, tried to sell it years later, just a complete loss. Really.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Being a gym, it's like, well, I knew I was going to keep this stuff.
Even like on Marketplace, what people were like.
Yeah. I mean,
because I was looking on there for like squat racks and just like kettlebells.
Oh,
and, I ended up, actually, one of our sponsors did hook us up. We were sponsored by Origin at the time.
Cool, yeah.
And they started making leather kettlebell bags. I'll show you after the podcast. Have you seen those?
No, I have seen them, yeah.
And depending on what you filled it with, you would get different weights, right? So I was going as heavy as I could, and the heaviest thing that you could put in it is pennies.
Yeah, interesting.
So I went to the bank in the middle of a coin shortage, and I was like, I need $200 worth of pennies, because there's $100. I think $100 worth of pennies is 32 pounds.
That's
interesting.
Like that. Yeah, haven't heard
Jeremy,
that
you
one.
might have to look that up, but
That's really cool.
yeah. But so, anyways, they were like, "You want what?"
Yeah, like what are you
and
doing?
it literally like took me a couple hours to break all the little rolls apart, fill the bags, and lace them up.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Well, hey, still cheaper than buying.
Hell yeah, and they work great, man.
Yeah.
I still use them because they're soft and they're like that leather.
Yeah.
They're great to like throw in a pack, like if you want to go for a little ruck thing.
Oh yeah,
like they're great for in here.
Yep. Well, that's where like sandbags and things like that.
Oh,
you
they're
know,
so
make your
badass.
own stuff, and
Yeah.
I think it was cool to see American-made type companies, producing at that time when they had to, and well, shoot, man, all the other just industries out there that went into a different industry at the time because they had resources to help something or build something different, So
Especially those American-based companies, right? Because if it's being stitched and sewn and sourced all right here,
prices down.
You don't have to worry about any of those tariffs coming in,
No.
the shutdown of like whatever disease is going on.
Yep.
Like, I think that in hindsight, that was maybe one of the best things about COVID was it made us realize how vulnerable we were, relying on other countries.
Yep.
And I think it also brought public awareness to just like, hey, let's keep some of this manufacturing here at home.
Yep.
I like being able to have beef that's not from New Zealand, like that sort of stuff.
Some of that stayed since then too,
right?
Which is great, and hopefully more of it. But interesting time, to open a gym. I mean, I was in Arapahoe County, and it was like a 2 strike, and you're done, right? So they were sending secret shoppers to gyms, right, and making sure that.
So like. What were the policies? Did you have to have a mask on, like on the treadmill?
Yeah, mask on at all times.
That cannot be good for you.
No, it's definitely not good for you. I mean, and then basically if somebody walked in from the county at the time and somebody had their mask, on their chin, right, trying to breathe, people did, whatever. That's 1 strike. Next strike, I think, was like a $5,000 warning, and then 3rd strike, business is closed.
You can buy a lot of weight with $5,000.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I was dealing with is basically 3 chances of somebody kind of having their mask under their chin and was visible to somebody, or I got tattled on, and everything I just put in, all that money, all my life savings, gone that fast.
Well, the worst
in
part
retrospect, is this not absolutely enraging?
it's stupid.
Yeah.
It's stupid.
Just hearing that is just like...
Well, this podcast, for example, would have been totally different show. Entirely different show.
Sure.
Because we had the studio built prior to the actual like lockdowns and everything. Like COVID was kind of like over in China, and you were watching them like Clorox fucking full buses and trains and shit, which was really weird. And like the sidewalks. So it was kind of there, and we were building out the studio, and I was like, fuck, man, this is not really the best time. And then we went into lockdown mode.
Oh yeah.
And I think that was the week that we were supposed to record our first episode.
Sure.
And everybody I had keyed up had been online for months. So it was like Colorado Parks and Wildlife, Alpine Search and Rescue. There was a couple fire departments. There was like, a lot of it was like government agency like type stuff.
Yeah.
And they were just like, we can't do shit.
We definitely
we can't even, we're not even putting police on the streets right now because,
we're supposed to be the front of it of not doing this or that type of thing, right?
It's wild.
Yeah.
So it just totally changed everything. So we started reaching out to survival, like crazy experts and stuff. And I'm so glad that we did.
And Jason's wife was a nurse, wasn't she?
Yeah.
And that was a whole thing.
Yeah.
Well, I remember, everybody was scared, including him. Somebody that like builds a business on survival and stuff. He's like, well, what are going to be your safety protocols if I do come up? Like it was like right at the beginning, like the first week of lockdowns.
How could you not
Nobody
be scared?
knew shit.
No,
Yeah.
Everybody was scared. Like it was the unknown. That's never happened, to us. And it hasn't happened for years, obviously, before that, century. Like, so yeah, what can you do? It's part of it.
That's crazy though. But I think a lot of people might have just camped out like you said that you wanted to do, right? So that little bit of a nudge from your wife.
Oh yeah.
It's kind of cool.
She used the push, and, I'm pretty proud to, say my business was established 2020 at that time, and that we made it through that. And, I feel really confident in this industry that, fitness, in-person fitness will never go away. we saw, the virtual aspect of what it was, and you had to do it, and then people thought they were going to continue, and now you look at Peloton and you look at all the online stuff, and people want that community. They want to be in person. And I think that is the biggest thing too for my business and the hunting side of it, is that there's a lot of online hunting programs, right? A lot of things you can do in your garage with your cooler, but people want to be in that interaction with each other.
Well, it's so cool. That was the next thing that I wanted to dive in with you. Like, your concept at the gym is so unique. I don't think that there's another gym in the country that's doing what you're doing, right?
I don't think so.
It's badass.
Yeah,
I mean, if
you're
you're somebody that follows Cameron Haynes or that lift, run, shoot mentality, right? Or Derek Wolf, or one of these guys that's kind of like in the celebrity light of bow hunting, or an influencer in hunting, however you want to dub those people, workout has become such a huge part of portraying what they do and leading up. I think it helps them build content leading up to the hunting season, because the hunting season's only a month long, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
And, shooting your bow and working out at the same time is something that I guess I've adopted that I never really did. I've bow hunted my whole life, and we would go out and ruck, and we would go out and look for sheds, and it was always kind of like multifaceted, backcountry interaction to get, like, carrying a heavy pack.
That was your training,
to go into an alpine lake to fly fish, right? So there was some reward behind it, and I still take that model, right? It's like, I want to kill as many birds with one stone as I can, right?
Exactly.
I want to have some fun. I want to be in
100%.
shape. But I think, like, taking that approach of fitness is so vital and so important when it comes to hunting, and not only that, shot ethics, right?
Yep.
To the point that I've adopted is, like, one of the reasons why I have a home gym and I prefer to go to that as opposed to going to my gym up here that's right down the road is I can shoot my bow.
Yeah.
And I can shoot my bow at a high heart rate.
Yep.
The other thing that I do is I love 3D courses, and shout out to American Bowmen, man. They have been so awesome to me. But I have an awesome 3D course that's not far from here. That's, 1,000 feet of elevation climb if you do both sides, which is 40 targets.
Which is great.
And I mean, it's a lot of up and down. So you throw on a heavy pack or run between the targets, and then that heart rate's up, and it's kind of a way to gauge and score yourself, and you're not just shooting off flat ground, right? It's so badass.
Well, I think you're really lucky to have that too, because most people in the nation don't have that option.
Oh no.
Let alone the elevation to train in, right? And so
there's one reason why I live here.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's, I'm born and raised here as well, and I'd never take it for granted. I love this state. It's part of me. It's part of my brand, and I feel blessed and lucky to be here, to tell you the truth. So
hell yeah. No, it's great. I mean, it's great for that, and year round, I think, living where we live and at the elevation that we live, there's still a lot that you can do outdoors, in the winter and stuff. And it's not really that bad.
Yeah,
like, you can still train outdoors. You can still shoot your bow. You can still
sunny on a lot of those winter days, right?
Yeah.
And
don't tell anybody.
I know, right?
We got to quit talking about it.
We're driving up here right now. There's no snow anywhere.
The locals already hate me bad enough. I'm like, dude, I'm one of you guys.
Yeah. Representing here.
It's cool. Like, recently, I've met a couple people that have moved. I'm not even going to say this publicly, but that have moved here specifically because they listen to the podcast and stuff, cool. Dude. Which is it's cool to me, because it's building a little bit of a community, and we're going to have people move here regardless. But I'd almost rather have that philosophy of like-minded people that live around me. Right? Sure. I think that's what anybody wants in a community.
Yeah.
Yeah,
definitely. I mean, that's the biggest thing. My gym is community. That's number one. Culture is number one, and systems come second. You have to have those systems within that business, but if you don't have the culture, it won't succeed. And I've seen that in a lot of gyms, especially a lot of franchises, is just because you have this laid out, facility, right? And then things are supposed to go this way. If you don't have that culture and don't build that culture first, it's not going to be a success. You're not going to grow that membership. You're not going to have a training staff that wants to be there, that respects what we do, and so that's
I think that's
important.
The biggest key to anybody in longevity with working out is being comfortable in the space that you are, right? Because Nothing is worse than intimidation or feeling intimidation or like inferior feelings just sucks, dude. And I still get it at my local gym every once in a while, right? Like I know that I could be in better shape physically than I am right now, but I dedicate my time to different things, right? Being a dad, podcasting. I'm going to sit here for a couple hours. I could be out on a run right now. But I think it's also that happy balance, but also I think you hit the nail on the head, man. It's like you have to have that support around you, right? And comfortability to have longevity in it, I would think, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think my gym could be very intimidating, right? From the outside.
Well, you got Derek Wolf. Do you have enough weights for him in there?
I had to buy more recently. I did have to buy more. We'll get into more of that. But, you walk into my gym and we know your name before you even walk in the door, right? We make that so comfortable. We make it so welcoming. And that has always been number one, at my gym is the minute you walk in, it's like, wow. A lot of our reviews I felt like I was already a member there before I walked in, right? We already know about you. We know, just from a lead that comes in, it's like, this is a member, is how we look at it right away. Tell you the truth, we don't have very many people that come in that don't sign up at our gym. And, that isn't it. Because of my staff, right, and because of the culture we've built.
Yeah, you got some badasses working down
there. Yeah, we really do. We really do, and I'm super lucky, and I think I treat them well and treat them as the same as me. I'm not a boss at my gym, right? That's not what I'm there for. I'm a trainer too, right? There's days I'm training 8 to 10 hours as well. I'm there to support them, to be there for them. If they need help, that's what I'm there for. But I have hired these quality people that the gym is their gym too, right? If I'm not there and they're with the client, that is their gym. That is their facility. They own it at that point too. And if somebody new comes in, that's a chance for them to, to get a new client or to get them into the membership base. And so I think that's so important is, having each person, having ownership per se of the facility that they're working at. And that's been a huge success. And, I'm lucky to have the team I have, for sure. I'll tell you that.
Hell yeah. I think that's one of the biggest things too, to having what you're trying to build and the community that you want, right? Is you got to have support. So that's awesome.
And another thing is it's not, as much as I want this to be just a hunting gym one day, right? It's never going to be that. It's a general population gym. Okay. Every gym you have needs to be probably about 80% of general population people. Sure, they may be hikers and skiers and bikers and this and that, but you can't just, you have a niche like I do.
Yeah, 1% of the population or something hunts, I think.
Exactly.
When you actually get down and look at it.
Yes, and I've worked so hard to get it to say that my gym now is 5 or 10%, hunters, right? And that's been a 5-year thing for me to get to that point. But, it looks like it from the outside. It's like, oh man, you walk in and we have 8 classes a day and there's 20 hunters in each class. It's like that's not the case, not at all. One day maybe it will be, but it's taken this long to get to the point I am. On just the hunting side and we do so much more than just the hunting side of the business. We are a mountain fitness gym, and that's first and foremost. Number one is mountain fitness and training for hiking with your kids, right? Biking, skiing, whatever it is, trail running, that's a big thing as well for us right now. And so
I think that's the number one safety that you could probably take into the backcountry is having some sort of, I would say number one is having some sort of like first aid knowledge, right? At least CPR and at least like some stop the bleed type stuff, right?
Correct.
Just in case something happens.
Yeah.
But I think second, probably the second most valuable thing is being physically fit. If you're gonna go try to tackle a 14er, you don't want to do that compromised, injured, or not physically fit, man, because then you become a liability for so many different people, right?
Yeah, I have a pretty cool thing happening first weekend of June with 4 ladies from New York City flying in. To prep them for Kilimanjaro a month later.
Oh, shit.
And so...
that's a big one.
Yeah, they're coming in. They found us online from New York City. One of them came out in November, and we did a test run, and I took her on 2 hikes a full weekend, taught her how to do this, how to do that, you know, gear you need to be bringing, supplements we need to be taking out there. And now we're going to go tackle Mount Elbert with them on a 1-day hike, basically. And, you know, hopefully a month later, they're going to be on, you know, Kilimanjaro and doing the same type of thing, but, you know, 5,000 feet higher. So,
wow.
You know, we have a lot of versatility in this gym, in this business. And, you know, for me, one day, I want to not be in the gym and be doing all the things on the outside that also help promote the gym, but that's, you know, my main thing.
Yeah, I think that's one of the most unique things about you guys is you guys do a lot of outdoor classes. You could do a lot of outdoor meetups, right? And community type meetups where you guys are doing a trail run or an archery shoot or whatever, right?
Yeah, we have a trail race on Saturday in Rock Hawk and Castle Rock. And last year the team was 8. I think I have the team up to 16 or 18 runners now this year.
Hell yeah.
So
is that a 10K or what?
I'm doing a 25K, so
wow.
15 and a half miles.
Yeah.
Some people are doing a 10K. There's a 5K. I'd say half the team had never ran a mile on a trail before this, and now on the average, everyone's running. We run 3 times a week. Tonight's a big run, our last big run before Saturday. People are running 5Ks, and they never thought they could even run a mile, you know, and so it's really exciting for me to see that, and that's why I do this. This gym is me, right? I'm so organic with it. There's nothing to fake about it. I just do what I love to do personally and try to, you know, help the community with that as well. And I'm really lucky that, you know, my job is doing what I love, especially on the mountainside, right? I mean, fitness is my job, but to relate it back to hunting and hiking and trail running and fitness, I mean, that's my true passion, is obviously being in the outdoors. And so, you know, fitness on the day-to-day, that's my career. You know, hopefully more and more I can just do the mountain, you know, fitness side of that outside the gym, like I was saying.
Hell yeah. Let's go, dude.
Yeah. Excited.
Come do some up here. I'll come up with you.
Yeah, definitely.
I was super excited to get down and see the gym. We were going to try to do a whole thing down there, and we will do that in the future. Yep. But you just moved into a new facility as well, right?
Yeah, correct.
Tell me about that.
You know, so we basically started in a garage gym, 2,500 square feet. You know, 1 bathroom for, you know, 100 members type of thing.
Oh, damn.
No windows. You know, it was a great starting point. But once again, middle of COVID too, a lot of people weren't going to go lease me a facility with no background of owning a business, you know. And I mean, it was a huge risk for them, right? And 3.5 years later, we're now in a 5,700 square foot facility. I built it out, you know, in the sense of ground up, from paint colors to flooring.
It looks dope, man.
Yeah.
Jeremy, you got to pull up some photos of this. It looks badass.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. You know,
anybody that puts black paint on their walls, I dig it.
Yeah, it's cool. It's called a green black paint.
Yeah,
so it kind of, you know, we got the green turf.
Yeah.
We have a physical therapy clinic within there.
Oh, really?
Yep, full clinic.
That's huge, man.
Yep, recovery room with everything from hyper ice, so a lot of, you know, hot cold contrast therapy. Got the Normatec boots, reclining chairs. You know, a big strip of turf now where we can run 3 sleds at once, which is really important. I'm a strength and conditioning coach, so we do so much turf work, obviously, and that translates directly to, you know, things you're going to do outdoors.
That's the fun stuff to work out.
Exactly.
With too, I think. Man.
Yep. We do camping trips and, you know, anything, like I said, that I like to do. I try to bring into the business and get people excited about it, and it's so fun for me to see people kind of latch on to those things that I enjoy, and to share the knowledge that I think I take for granted. Growing up camping my whole life with my family and doing these things and learning how to hunt from my family and my uncles, you know, and then now I feel like I can just teach people this, and a lot of people don't realize that they have things that they can show others, I think, that we may just take for granted that we know, but so many people do not know. And
yeah,
luckily for me, I can turn it into, you know, a business venture at the same time.
That's pretty cool, man. I think one of the coolest things, and probably the thing that intrigues me the most about your gym, is you can shoot your bow there.
Yeah.
So like, bring your bow, right?
Yeah.
What's the policies with that? Is it only certain classes?
Yeah. So it's my backcountry class, and that's when we have all the hunters in there, and, you know, we're shooting 20 yards type of thing. And
yeah, there's some liability that comes with
100%.
that, right?
It's a high heart rate, and it's like, if you haven't shot your bow, this is not the class for you to come in and just
you need
practice.
to be dialed in.
Yeah, this is not an archery range, right? We're taking, you know, a couple shots during a whole 90-minute workout, but we make those shots count, you know? And so it's mainly about that strength and conditioning. But then we take it outside here starting next month all the way up to September at the Highlands Ranch Backcountry Range. And that's kind of our partner range.
I've heard a lot about that range. I've never been down there.
It's phenomenal.
Is it? Awesome.
It's basically a wildlife preserve. There's a herd of, 200-300 resident elk that live there.
Really?
Turkeys, mountain lions, bears. Amazing place. That's where we do a lot of our trail running.
Is it a 3D course?
3D course as well as a static range. There's a private side where we run our 6-week boot camp, backcountry boot camp that starts late July and goes through August for 6 weeks, and we shoot out to 80 yards at that range, and that's a 50% strength and conditioning workout with a 50% shooting aspect to it as well. And so,
is it a private club or is it open to the general public?
It's open to general public. You can go buy a pass, but it is for Highlands Ranch residents more than not.
Gotcha.
But anybody can kind of buy a pass there, and they got an awesome, 3D range, that kind of a 2.2 mile loop going through some elevation, 27 targets type of thing. And
that is so key, man. I think that's the biggest key, and I'm so fortunate to have that.
Yep.
We used to do it before all these 3D courses were around, and American Bowman's been around for a really long time. I've shot it as a kid at one point, but it was in a completely different location.
Yep.
But I think that's a huge component, is like shooting up and downhill, shooting across a valley or having tree branches in your way, having real life hunting scenarios, right, is so key.
Static range only goes so far, right? I mean, it's so great for shooting.
It's good for reps,
yeah,
right?
Reps, shooting mechanics, and just, it's fun, right, too, if you don't want to go get your
it's so addictive, man.
Yeah, I live 10 minutes from it, so it's so easy for me to drive over there and get up there, on a morning like this, and no one's at the range, and so...
that's badass. I want to come shoot it with you.
It's really awesome.
And then we'll have you up here. We'll go do something at American
that'd be great, because I've never been there. So
you haven't?
No.
Oh shit, we got to go.
I'd love to check it out.
What are you doing after this?
If I didn't have,
I got my bow next door.
I know, right?
We'll do it one of these afternoons. It's
awesome.
It's incredible, man. It's a private course. They do some like 3D shoots up there. I think is the only way that you can come in if you're general public.
Yep.
But man, it's 50 acres.
Yeah.
And there's only 150 members. I don't know if they're maxed out on memberships right now. But just great people and just an awesome course. 50 acres, 40 targets. They're all brand new Reinhardt. Just badass so cool. Bison, mountain lion. Yeah. And they've kept it kind of that Western hunting. I think that there might be one, like a cheetah or something like that. But everything else is like kind of set up. Like once you get into the rocks and cliffs, you're shooting at rams and mountain goats.
Cool.
And it's badass.
Yeah,
dude.
how it should be. That's fun. That's awesome.
It's a lot of fun. So I guess dive in, because this is the first time that we've met. Yeah. And we're going to do more of these podcasts. I know we're a little bit short on time today, but we're just getting into this thing. Yep. So don't feel like we got to rush either. Your background, you grew up here in Colorado. How did it kind of come full circle into you working into strength and conditioning?
Yeah,
and,
sure.
Yeah.
Born and raised in Colorado, grew up in Fort Collins. My dad was my real dad obviously was more the athletic based guy, which is where I can say I learned more of the fitness from, right? He had me, I was in the weight room since I was 8 years old. And so that was just a top thing from my father. It was just part of my life. That's what we did. And when my parents were divorced, but I lived in Fort Collins and I played all Denver sports growing up because they're more competitive. So every weekend of my young childhood would be the drive from Fort Collins to Denver, spend it with my dad. He was my coach, playing, baseball, football, basketball type of thing. And then, being in the weight room. I mean, that was super important to him. My mother married my stepfather, and he was the outdoorsman. And my uncle Tom, and that side of the family, my mom's side of the family, were the big hunters. And so I think I was so lucky that I had a stepfather who was the hunter, the outdoorsman, as well as my uncle, and then my dad, who was kind of the athletic-based background. And then, that all kind of got merged together for me.
That's what builds a Zach Petrone.
That's right? It. Here I am, and we grew up. We never, I'd never really left the state until I think I went to college, and our spring breaks were going to the mountains and camping for a week, and that's all we ever did was just camp, and be in the mountains as a family. And I love it so much still to this day, and I camp, with my family or alone with my dog almost every weekend if I can, and it's just kind of my peace of mind. Leaving the gym, right? I mean, I talk to so many people all day long, so my church is to go up there on a Saturday and hike around with my dog, or if my wife wants to come, and just relax, and then I needed about 24 hours of that, and I'm recharged for the rest of the week. Going from there, I went to...
God, I need to adopt that a little bit more. I've been grinding so hard with this between the kids, and do you have kids?
I do not yet, so I'm lucky with that right now.
So I'm doing exactly what your dad did for you. Yep. Like, I'm driving my son down to Denver every week, daughter down to Denver, just so they can get the training that they need. And
good.
Play at a competitive... and a higher level, I guess, in their sports.
And you're not too far, so that's not too bad.
No, it's not like from Fort Collins.
So. Yeah, so
it's a lot easier.
It was a drive. Anyway, so I went to school in Arizona. I just kind of wanted to see a change. I had never really left the state, to tell you the truth, much. So I, was like, well, I'll go to a school nearby. Let's check it out, do something totally different. Went down to U of A in Tucson alone.
Did you do any hunting down there?
No, so I didn't do a ton of hunting. I was always with my family, kind of helping, doing some small things, but I really got into hunting. Sports was kind of my number one, post-college, of where I was going a lot on my own after that. So it was really about sports, and then, secondary, me just going with my family to hunt. My mom, had shot some pronghorn back in the day, my stepfather, so I'd always be there. But I wasn't super interested in it, I think, because I was always around it, so it wasn't my, I was like, I'd rather go, shoot the ball, in my front driveway type of thing instead. And so post-college is when I really was like, man, I have time, this is more of what I really want to do, with my time now. And so I got a business degree from U of A in Tucson, came back and was like, man, I don't want an office job. Like, this is not me. Did a few interviews and, here's your 40 hours for $40,000 salary. And I'm like, this sounds miserable. My mom was like, well, why don't you become a personal trainer? You love that. It's what you do. And I was like, I don't know. Anyways, got a cert, ended up getting on at the 24 Hour Fitness down on Kipling and Bowles down there. Did that for a year and a half in 2013 and learned a lot, to tell you the truth, and had some of the best managers and team I've ever had, which is so funny. I had a big box gym like that.
Really?
Which is so interesting.
What set them apart as managers and just good staff?
My manager at the time was just one of those guys where, certain instances where we'd go into his office, he would take his name tag off and say, Zach, this is me, Bill. Let's talk as, person to person. Let me know what's going on with you here or with this, with that. And I think I took so much from that, of realizing you don't have to be this, constant professional in the sense of being the boss of a place, and I do a lot of that with my staff now of, we're friends, this is personal. What can I do to help you? How are things at home? And then obviously you have to have the professional side too, but that was so important to me, and I took so much from that. And I met some of my best friends that are still friends with me today, that are still trainers today. It was just a random occurrence that all of these people got hired on at the same time, and they're all phenomenal trainers, phenomenal people at this little 24-hour fitness big box gym, right out of school. And so that was just a pivotal point in my life of friends now I've had for 10 years that are my best friends that I go hunting with, and then some trainers I still keep in touch with. And so after that, I trained there, and it just wasn't, I knew.
Is that where we have mutual friends from Landau?
I think I'll get into that. That goes to the next step. Then I was like, I need to do more. My coaching, here, sure, I've learned the business side, but I need to be a better coach. So I ended up helping open up the D1 strength and conditioning, which was in Highlands Ranch, connected to Panorama at the time. I was one of the first trainers hired on there. And then there, I stayed there for a year and a half, and that's where I became a strength and conditioning coach. And that's where I actually learned the lifts and learned how to coach college athletes. And Chauncey Billups was an owner, so, it was awesome being around him. Jimmer Fredette came there a bunch. We had some real athletes coming in, all turf work, that type of thing.
Yeah.
And so I learned a lot.
It's next level, just being around that.
It is.
Seeing some of that. My son, shout out to Landau Performance and Eric Tilley.
Yep.
He's been working with my son a little bit on some football stuff. And my son just being around some of those college athletes and having some former Denver Broncos or Denver Bronco, active players, NFL guys or Cody Garbrandt walking the door or something like that. Him just seeing them makes him fuck, I better step my game up.
It's these guys are still working this hard and they're this, deep in their career.
Yeah.
And so that's where I ended up, once again, got an amazing crew of staff, and that's where I met Travis Duffo, who's now assistant strength coach at Notre Dame with Lauren.
Yeah, shout out Travis. He's actually who introduced us. So.
Yeah, he is.
I know. I've been meaning to get Travis in here, so we got to get Travis in here at some point.
He's one of my
maybe you guys together or something.
That'd be great. Yeah. He is the best trainer I know. I've learned so much from him. And
Hunter also, right?
Yeah, we're hunting partners basically.
Oh, no shit.
I'm pretty bummed that now I lost my hunting partner. We've packed out some animals together.
And if you work in any sort of like football program, you're screwed. Especially if you're an archery hunter.
Yeah, he comes home in May. I think they got a break. We'll go do a little turkey hunt or something. But we've packed out, a couple animals over the last few years, and a guy I can rely on and trust, and we work well together out there as a team. And I've like I said, as a trainer, obviously look where he's at in his career. We started about the same time, and he went more of obviously that route, the sports performance route. For me, I wanted to do the mountain fitness aspect, and
it's great though, man. Like it's something that I think us as bow hunters or hunters in general hold at such a high value, man. Yeah, it's so cool.
Well, and I think to tell you the truth, there's a lot of programs out there of hunters that are, it's no disrespect, but trying to be in that fitness scene. Mm-hmm. And I think for me, when this is my livelihood and my career, and I look at the science behind, why I'm writing these programs, why we're doing this or that, it's not just go step on a box. Sure, that's never a bad thing to work on your fitness in any aspect, whether it's just rucking. But it's hard for me to see some of these people that, are just putting out these programs, and I'm like, what's your backing? What are your certifications? What have you learned? This is what I do for a living, I mean, it's been amazing, obviously training Derek Wolf since now January and seeing my programs work for him, right? I'm not Travis Duffel in the sense of that sports performance. That's not what I want to do. But training now Derek, who, Super Bowl champion, 10-year NFL career, to seeing my mountain fitness programs working for him and seeing him get his hips stronger and move how he wants to move for his now new career, you could say, as a hunter, and it's fun. And for me, it's
shit. You just sold me. I need to get my ass down there.
And it's like I know what I'm doing, right? And I know that, but I haven't really put it to test with a really big time athlete like a Derek Wolf. To see, somebody that's lifting, back squatting 500 pounds last week, deadlifting 600 pounds,
Insane.
And to see, I think what he enjoys maybe with my programs is it is still that strength and conditioning aspect of what he's had in his training career working with Lauren Landau. And then at the same time, I'm putting my twist of, to tell you the truth, grunt kind of mountain fitness, programs to that point. And so, it's not like I'm the most scientific backed trainer there is, but
I want to get into a little bit in the last few minutes. I wanted you to finish on your background and kind of what brought you into this, but I definitely want to put a pin in this and come back to it and what kind of your philosophy is and the science behind it. Sure. And, cause I have some ideas and this is my own personal greed coming out. But we'll dive into that here in a minute, and I'll ask you.
Definitely. Yeah. Anyways, was at D1 for about a year and a half, and then once again, I needed something more, right? Now I'm to the point where I've learned a lot of the sales part at 24 Fitness, right? And kind of how to be as a team leader or a manager. Then I get the D1 for a year and a half, right? Then I learn how to actually be a coach, a strength and conditioning coach. And, shout out to Rob Van Volkenberg, who was the head coach at that time there. He taught me, a lot of that. And, he was in that industry, the team industry for a while. Then I'm like, okay, there's a member there. She's like, hey, we're starting this new franchise. It was called Fit 36 at the time. They need some trainers that were just opening it. So now I go and help open another gym. So now I'm to the point where I've opened, being the first trainer, 2 different styles of gyms. Wow. Okay. And this is all kind of leading to how I know how to run a gym now, right? Anyways, go over there, you trainer, another amazing group of people and staff, trainers that I now have had for 6 or 7 years that followed me through from there to Rocky Mountain Strength. And so I've just had a lot of these amazing opportunities of meeting really good trainers and kind of helping each other develop, And so then I end up there at Fit 36. I eventually leave D1. I become head trainer, then assistant manager, and then manager the last 2 years. And I learned how to run a business. I learned all the franchisee type in and outs of what it takes to run this business, how these systems work. And then that gets me to, 2020, where the gym closes. And I am at that time,
So did you lose your job during?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Lost my job. And where was I going to go get another job as a trainer, right?
Yeah.
There's no other
Not
options.
at that time.
No.
Yeah.
Right. And so get to that point. That's October 2020. It closes. I take a weekend off to move to my new location, close the doors of the old gym. 2 days later, I have Rocky Mountain Strength. And now I'm to the point where I know what I know as a trainer, right? As a strength and conditioning coach, I feel confident in that. And now I really know how to run a business, run a gym. And so I learned a lot of what not to do, being at a franchise, as well as what to do, but where to save overhead. Why do I need 3 front desk people at 1 hour? Why do I need, this coach and that type of thing? And so I think that was the biggest thing is, to go open a gym and to run a gym successfully is you have to have everything I just talked about as a backing. Obviously being a great coach, but there's way more to that. There's a lot of good coaches that go and try to open a gym, but they don't know how the operations work of running a facility, right?
Do you think that your college education or your degree helped you with that a little bit?
So
yeah.
I love the business of fitness more than training, right? I love running my books. I love coming up with new ideas, being innovative. I'm an entrepreneur, right, at heart. I mean, since I was a kid, I was selling snow cones outside the pool. I've always been that guy. And so that's what's been so fun for me is I geek out on the entrepreneurial side. I've helped so many of my trainers open up their own LLC within my business, right? And how can I help you grow your business? How can I teach you these things? And that's where I get most excited besides the mountain side, the mountain fitness side of my business is running the business. I love it. I love running the Instagram. I love doing marketing. I love coming up with these random ideas of I'm going to start a trail running team. Now I'm going to do this new mountain excursion program. And so these ideas never stop in my head. And that's my favorite part of it is
the creativity part.
Yeah. And that's where I get
badass.
So excited.
Yeah.
And I think that's been my number one success is I don't just stick to being a gym per se. I have to come up with new ideas. And that's what's, helped me grow this place and to be in the facility we are now. And if I can't stop doing that, if I stop doing that, we're not going to see the growth we have.
Then you just get kind of in a stagnant, like you're just kind of calling it in at that point, right?
Yeah.
If it's just the same cookie cutter crap that you deal with every day.
Yep.
I think that's why this podcast has evolved a little bit too, is we're constantly kind of changing things up
100%.
or like
the people you have, it's
angles.
Like you have a fighter one week and then you have Donnie last week, that type of thing. And it's so interesting. And I think it's hard. Some days I just want to go and just work and not think about growing the business, right? Like it is what it is.
That's the best part about this, as much as I'm looking at it from an outside perspective. And it's crazy how many fighters that I know now and how many pro athletes live right here in Denver.
Yeah.
This could very easily turn into a sports podcast
100%.
like real fast. Like I could have a fighter in every week and we would just be a UFC podcast.
Yeah,
but I'm like,
definitely.
I'm trying to like keep its roots a little bit.
Yeah. And like I like watching, listening to the fighting stuff, but I like the mountain, side of what you're doing, whatever, if it's with the agencies or with, the Donnie Dust or the Survivalists, like that's what I like to listen on your podcast, right?
Awesome, man.
And so
thanks for the support.
Of course. And I think it's kind of cool that then my business is kind of a mix of everything that you've kind of brought into your podcast.
They align a lot. Like
Definitely.
Mine and your, I guess if you would call this podcast a business, like they align a lot, right? Well, like we have a lot of the same values, a lot of the same premise. And I think even though those pro athletes are, when they come in here, there is a mountain element to them, whether they have never been up here and experienced anything. Like we had Brandon Royval in, shout out, amazing young man, grew up in the inner city of Denver, kind of gang ridden environment and stuff. And he came up here and I guess he played ice hockey as a kid.
Sure.
So we were telling him about the lake. He had never really been up here, I think. And we, went skating the next day.
Oh,
and
that's
stuff,
so
you know
cool.
what I mean? So it's like it's kind of those sort of influences. And
well, I think it is just a lot about being a Colorado native too, to tell you the truth. And I'm super proud of that, and as you are as well.
Yeah.
You know, my whole friend group, most of them are not from Colorado anymore. You know, my closest best friends are not Coloradoans, and I do think we have, you know, similar thoughts and, you know, personalities in that sense. A lot of us have been born and raised, you know, in Colorado, and as kids growing up, whether it was going camping or just, you know, doing the stuff that we've done, right, being here, and then now kind of seeing the growth of the state and, you know, the direction it's going, whether it's good or bad. You know, you got to kind of hold true to your own values as a local here. And,
yeah,
you know, that's what's for me so exciting, is just kind of,
I think preserving it is the biggest thing for me. It's
I agree.
like, God, we got to preserve it. Cause
I know.
like even yesterday, just walking home from here, I kind of got brokenhearted, man. Just like, just walking from here to my house, you know, I was just like, God, what? And I mean, I know we've had some big windstorms going, but I was just like, there's fucking trash everywhere. And then it made me think like, God, we should start like with the mountainside, just do a cleanup day around here or something.
Well, I'd love that. And that
would be badass.
Our community wants to do that stuff too, which is so cool at my gym, right? I mean, we do a lot of that type of stuff, and, you know, we do charity events and whatever we can, but that's what's awesome is the community we have. And we do have a lot of Colorado, you know, natives at my gym too. I think they gravitate towards the brand, obviously, you know.
Yeah,
with what
Rocky
it is.
Mountain Tough, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
you know.
Rocky Mountain Strength, like those. It's such a. I think that's part of living here, right? It's just like being. You have to have some durability, especially if you want to experience everything that Colorado has to offer, man. There's so much, man.
Agree.
Like you have to. It needs to be at somewhat of a forefront is your health and fitness, right? Because you're living in altitude. You want to go out and experience these things. The best way to experience them is not dying on a trail.
Yeah, 100%.
You know what I mean? Like trying to make it summit or something.
Yeah. I mean, we run, even the trail team now, it's like we're running all the trails in Lone Tree and Highlands Ranch, you know, the highest area of south of Denver. And so it's like, you know, so cool to get those people out there. They've never even ran on dirt before, you know, let alone we're running.
It's I cannot run on asphalt or concrete.
I won't.
I fucking hate it.
Yeah. I feel like my knees start aching the minute I touch concrete, and I think it's just a mental thing, but
it is for me too.
Yeah. Just showing a lot of people that aren't from Colorado, you don't have to go far to get a great experience here as well. Right. I mean, for me, just going to Lone Tree or Highlands Ranch, where we run these backcountry trails is what they're called. There's elk everywhere. There's deer. There's, you know, coyotes.
I think just being out and seeing some of that and just like really connecting with nature, I urge people to do too, is like, you know, everybody wants to put in their headphones and like zone out, and that's good therapy wise too. But I think at some point, maybe just try to really connect. Like when I go on a trail one, I kind of want to know what's around me too, especially out here. Yeah. Because we have a lot of mountain bikers and, you know, you're going to have interactions with animals and stuff. And normally my dog's with me, which is a great thing. But what I found is just like, okay, no podcast, no audiobooks, no music. Like, let's just go out, just experience, take it in. And it's crazy the stuff that I come up with I'm problem solving a lot of times when I'm on that trail or something like that.
I never run with headphones ever. Yeah. You know, everybody that's running with me is obviously headphones in, but I like to hear my feet hitting the dirt, to tell you the truth. Like, just hearing my stride and that, you know, on the physical side. But I think a lot out there, right? Just like you're saying. I mean, that's where I come up with a lot of good ideas and, you know, and problem solve. And for me, it's not about, you know, I have music on at the gym 10 hours, 12 hours a day. So the last thing I want is more music when I'm doing some of that stuff. And, you know, it helps me just calm down and relax and focus on what I'm there for, which is to run and be outside, you know, and not just be having earphones in the whole time, you know.
If you're not checking out the Mountainside Podcast on YouTube, you absolutely should be. If you like the content that we create here and you want to help support the podcast, please take a moment, subscribe to us on YouTube, and hit that notification bell. If I do experience something that you don't see every day, like if I come across, you know, an interaction with an animal or let's say just an awesome sunrise or something like that, I'll take a minute and take it in. Like, it's not about like crushing my Strava PR, right? Like, it's like, I think that's pretty meaningful too, man, to me. So yeah, I guess diving back into your approach to, let's just say like the backcountry hunters course or something like that, or somebody that wants to be involved in outdoor activities, what is kind of your approach, and what is some of the science behind that that you found? Because I have in my own personal thing, and I guess for me, it's not always, and I'd love to talk to you after the podcast a little bit too about some of my own personal stuff. But like I've really adopted in the last few years, it's just like, man, as I get older, like I'm almost 45, right? So I'm more injury prone than I've ever been in my entire life, right? And maybe I need to start supplementing some other things or something like that. But I've really found it's like, man, just doing body weight workouts or adding a little, a body weight vest or something like that, just to increase that a little bit. Yeah. And then higher amounts of reps, just for more durability and more endurance, I guess has kind of always been my approach to the elk hunting season.
Well, you look great for 45. So kudos
shit,
to you,
man. I got a long ways to go, dude. I just put on another.
I would have never thought that.
It's been a constant battle, man. Yeah, it is.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, having kids man. Too. That's Appreciate a lot. That's tough. I mean, I have friends. I'm 33, so I'm in the realm of my wife's 20. Yeah, where people are starting to have kids and that type of thing, and I see how that affects them obviously with what they can or can't do on a daily basis. A lot of my buddies are bringing their kids out.
I think that's just a sorry excuse though.
Yeah.
Because I think you also, as a parent, I mean, it's one thing if you have a newborn, right?
Yeah,
like you can't, but even then I think, it's kind of a lead by example, and
find time in the morning.
Man, if you're fucking tired, go to bed earlier, or you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, it doesn't mean that you're not getting up in the middle of the night to take care of an infant or something, but find that time, make that time. Like,
if it matters to you, if it really matters to you.
Yeah.
Right?
But I think it's a great example to set for your kids too. Like I let myself at the beginning of my fatherhood just kind of slip because you're just a new dad and you're trying to figure it out. And then, my previous job was just so demanding physically, like you're just eating garbage and there's no time to go to the gym. You're physically working, but it's a different type of physical, like endurance working. And I think a lot of it comes down to once you get to that point, like nutrition is huge, like diet. Definitely. Like if you're eating fried food every day and you don't have the metabolism of a 33-year-old dude, like that shit starts to add up and it creeps up on you slowly. It'll be like 10 pounds here, 10 pounds here, 10 pounds here. And then before you know it, you're fucking 300 pounds. And you're like, dude, what the fuck happened?
And
like
starting all over again.
Yeah.
But for me, all right, so going into kind of how I train, I mean, I'm taking these hunting workouts and mountain fitness workouts with a strength and conditioning background, right? So if you coming in and you're training with me, like we're going through a 15-minute dynamic warm-up first, right? So stretching down the turf, then we get to the ground, we're doing hip series, we're doing ground-based stuff. And so I think that's what's also a lot different with a lot of these hunting programs online is they're not actually warming you up properly by any means or any warm-up at all, right? Just going to do 30 jumping jacks and then straight into your back squats is not safe and effective, to tell you the truth. And so from there, right, I'm banding you up. We're warming up your hips. We're doing lateral band walks down the turf. We're doing band pull-aparts, posterior activation, pal-off press, activating your core. So I always lead into, a lower body activation with a band, typically a posterior and an anterior activation, all banded. So you could say now we're 20, 25 minutes into the workout and we haven't touched a weight yet. Okay. Keeping your knees stable and strong and your lower back strong. Like that is so important in mountain fitness and backcountry hunting. If you're not actually taking care of your knees and your lower back per se, or your shoulders, if that's the case, then doing all this grunt work, with everything with your workouts is not going to help you in the end. Sure, it's still building muscle. You're still working out, but is that longevity? Not in my mind. Right. And so, you should be doing 20 minutes, of warm up, of your actual stretching warm ups, and then just grabbing like one of those booty bands. Every single client of mine is strapped up in one of those bands around their knees, doing lateral walks, 45-degree walks, whatever, step outs, clamshells, every single session, every single day, whether you're a hunter or just a general population client.
It makes so much sense because, I mean, really, one thing that I'm going through right now is is you have an injury, now all of a sudden you can't fucking work out at all.
Exactly.
Right? It's like,
you have to build your foundation, right? Most people are at the bottom of their pyramid, and you need to stay in that foundation for as long as you have to until you feel capable of going into a barbell back squat or a deadlift or something of that sort, right? I mean, I have some really amazing hunters. My buddy Austin Bell, he owns Leaf Hat Co. You know, he's in great shape. He's going to run the 25K on Saturday and probably run 7-minute miles for 15 miles. He's strong. But guess what? Like he said at the beginning of the year, man, I don't have the foundation I actually need as a hunter. And he's a great hunter and he's a great athlete. And so he started training with me once a week, not because he didn't really, have the physical capacity of doing it on his own, but he didn't properly know what he really needed to do.
Well, sometimes it's just having somebody there from a different perspective too. Like you can't always see or feel what you're doing, or you might not push yourself as hard, but I think that's probably one of the biggest reasons is just some support, some community, right?
Yeah,
Like,
well, that's it. You got 45 minutes, most of my sessions are 45 minutes. That's all we need. And I don't think we touched a weight with him for the first 6 weeks. Literally didn't touch a weight. It'd be single leg RDLs, single leg pistol squats onto a bench, like things like that. And until his knee, for example, stopped shaking left and right as we're doing these exercises, then we weren't going to progress to then grabbing some dumbbells for an exercise, right? And so that's the most important thing is make sure your knees are actually stable. And that doesn't mean
so huge.
Just squatting with a bunch of weight on your back or doing heavy walking lunges. I'm talking laterally, right? Movement, like which way are your knees moving and where do you feel this? Where do you feel that? And then it's next really, you have to have strong hamstrings. That is so important in the backcountry. Strong hamstrings, right? And that doesn't mean you have to grab a bunch of weight either. It's glute bridges.
Nordic curls, right?
Yeah, oh my God. I mean, that is number one right there. And if you can't get to the Nordic curls, you're doing a physio ball curl on your back, right? With those yoga balls. Like that is a huge thing in our programs as well. And then you go into the single leg variations.
That's on my list for improvement.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So rough. If you can't do 15 physio ball hamstring curls in a row with your hips coming up high, you shouldn't probably be lifting a ton of weight, on different exercises.
Yeah.
And so I think that's what's really missed in the what you could say hunting / mountain fitness industry is they're not properly programming for somebody at the base of a pyramid in the foundation. And you may be a really great athlete and be strong, but when you go and look at
it's a different type of thing. Once you start climbing over deadfall and you're doing it for 12 hours a day, you're using muscles that you didn't even know you fucking had.
Yeah,
dude.
exactly.
It's like
planes of movement, right?
Yeah.
Directions that
or your shoulders, you throw, a 40 or 50 pound pack on, I try to keep it around 35 if I can, but I'm literally going out there as a minimalist at that point.
That's always me. It's always my right shoulder just starts aching, and it's not like a injury ache. It's just not used to maybe having weight on there for that long of time, right? And so I do a lot of strengthening of my shoulders, just trying to build that muscle and hopefully not have that dull ache pain of having a pack on the whole time, right? And for me, there's so many things I need to continually work on as well, where I get back there and I'm like, man, my hamstring really isn't as strong as I thought it was, right? And for me, the trail running is also a big part of when I'm out there, I can see what I need to work on more and stride and things like that and gait patterns even.
Even some of the trails, like I don't know what they are like in Highlands Ranch, but some of the trails up here, you have to be fucking super careful, and you really have to be. Another reason why I don't wear headphones is because it's almost like that extra level of distraction where I'm taking my mind off the trail. I could roll a fucking ankle, man, because you're running over rocks. There's shit you got to jump over. Like
CNS.
Some of these trails, I don't even know how fucking people ride mountain bikes on them, dude.
It's easier to run on it than a mountain bike. That's how I see a lot of them.
It's crazy, some of these there's step ups as high as this table in some of them, you know, like you're not running up that shit.
No, and like you said too, like ankle strength and stability is obviously so important. It all stems, bottom up, and I wish I'd see more of that online and that type of thing of, coming from me. That's where I'm like, this is my living, right? This people are really paying me for this. I don't need to go do all these new flashy exercises to make it look cool, because I actually care about these people. And if you've been lifting weights for 25 years, but then you get to me and you can't do these simple exercises right from the start, well, guess what? I'm starting you at the bottom of that pyramid as well. And it's not always fun, but that's the whole point. And then when you see this progress and my clients actually see these changes and and they visually are like, wow, my knee no longer, pushes in when I squat, or my ankle, my toe doesn't shift out to the right every time I do a reverse lunge. It's like, that's what makes me most excited, right?
Yeah.
It's fun when Derek
God
Wolf
damn
is
it. Now I gotta come see you, dude.
Oh, I'd
because
love
I'm
to.
sure I'm doing all kinds of shit wrong.
Yeah, I mean, I would give you a workout that you could do 3 times a week without a weight, and it's like, wow, look at that progress. You go on Amazon, you buy a couple of those, what they're basically, booty bands is what they're calling them, that go around your knees. You buy a couple small, bands that you can do pull parts and do some power presses, and that should be the start of every single one of your workouts, no matter what. And
especially, I think, as a traveling culture, as much as we do too, to maintain it when you're on the road is always, that's one reason why I've adopted a lot of the body weight workouts that I do, and I travel with some bands.
Well, you should definitely come in.
TRX too, man.
Oh, man.
Fucking shout out. They're a sponsor of ours, man. And
the best.
That is that goes everywhere with me and I love it because it's an outdoor thing. Like, you can go to a park.
Yeah.
You can go to, I've been hitting plyometric parks too, are pretty badass.
Yeah,
There's
cool.
a bunch around the country.
Yeah.
That are super cool.
And you can connect your bands to that stuff too, right?
And the TRX, you can connect it to a tree.
Yeah.
Like, I like to go find a park.
Yeah.
Put it around a tree. You're not damaging the tree.
That's it.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like fucking you're outside.
100%.
It's awesome.
I mean, for me at my gym, right, the number one things that we use are bands, TRX, and then, as a strength and conditioning gym, for me, sleds are so important.
Yeah.
That,
huge.
Goes and does, it shows you the movement of what you need to go up a hill to carry weight off the hill, that type of thing. And it's also a conditioning based strength exercise, which is awesome.
And then, are you guys doing some pack work? Like, when it comes into like, just like box steps or anything like that?
Yeah, we do a lot of like barbell step ups, obviously. We have some packs at the gym that you can throw weight on. A lot of our hunting programs, you bring your own pack, obviously, and we load it up with that. And then we do a ton of, lateral movements with that weight on your back too, because it's not always just walking in a straight line, obviously, when you're out in the woods. Yeah. It's, left, right, and eccentrically control, which is where most people get hurt, is walking down the mountain with all that weight, right? So,
which actually I wanted to ask you about, because one of my philosophies was, the way I've been training the last couple of years is I have this in my backyard, right? So like, the steepest part of the open space park right here, I go off trail and I take my pack and I go up that with 6 gallons of water, right?
That's
in
awesome.
A frame pack.
Yep.
And I think it comes out to be like 50 some pounds or something like that. I don't know. You'd have to look up what 6 gallons of water. What does a gallon of water weigh?
Gallon is
I think it's 8.
That's what I was just
Is it
gonna
8 pounds?
say, 8 pounds.
Okay. So yeah, but with the pack and everything, and then at some point I'll throw like an extra sandbag in there, or one of those Origin kettlebells if I feel like carrying 100 pennies up. But just doing that,
8.34.
Okay. But what I'm climbing is fucking pretty steep, dude. Like, I mean, I don't know what the grade is, and there's deadfall that you're going over and stuff. So coming down, what I do is I start at the bottom. It's probably about a mile climb. I don't know what it is in elevation. I'd have to look at my Garmin app or something. But anyways, I dump that water out at the top and then hike down with the jug empty.
Yeah. I think that's the best thing too, is you got to go, practice how you play, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I won't lie to you. Every time I get up on a hunt for the first, hour hike up the hill, it's like I never have worked out in my life. It's always hard every time.
Especially like if you're sleeping in a tent or you're sleeping on the ground or like you're in a bivy sack, you're not getting the sleep that you are in your nice cozy bed and then going and doing
you're stiff, you're tight, and do some of those stretches when you wake up, like that's important too, to just loosen up. So that's the biggest thing, is to get out there and hike, and do these, but at the same time you have to be not in the gym, but at least building that foundation with the bands, the simple stuff, because you can't just only hike either, right? Because if you're not strengthening, and different linear motions, or left to right or whatever it is, then you will get injured too. And I think that's so important.
I noticed it even this September during archery season. I had to kind of audible. I was hunting in a different spot, than I normally do because they were doing like trail maintenance, which really sucked, dude. They had like excavators up in the spot, and like
to see that.
it was more like the interference with the animals and stuff, you know. But I was like, why do you have to do this right in September? Right?
Yeah, I know.
Come on, dude.
It's like they planned that.
Yeah, but so anyways, I had to audible a little bit, and I did notice this year, like I was doing a lot more like downhill and then back out, like starting from the top and coming into some of these spots that I wanted to.
Sure.
And I hate doing that because it's always like, I don't know, just in my mind, it's that trip home is the hardest, right? Or back to wherever you need to go. And that's when you're the most smoked. You've already been out there for 12 hours of the day. Like I like getting the hard shit done in the morning.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
As long as the wind's right. Right. But anyways, I was doing that and I just noticed like, man, I don't think I've built up my muscles because I've been dumping that water out at the top of the mountain every time that I climb it.
Yeah.
Now going downhill, like I notice it. So like coming back, I was like, fuck, dude, my ass hurts in different spots, my lower back.
Yeah.
Like just
you should definitely be keeping that weight in going down. You know,
I don't.
That's where you can really work on per se your form of walking down in every step you take and get trekking
it's
poles
fucking scary though, because I mean some of the shit you're like traversing, like it's easy going up, right, but like coming down's a different story. So that's why I was dumping them.
I had my mule deer on my back this year coming out, and it wasn't even a crazy trail, but I took a fall, you know, landed on my shoulder and, you know, felt like a high ankle sprain. It was not, you know, it was fine, but it's like I trained for all this too, but things can still happen. But at least I know I'm the most prepared I can be, you know, and I think that's the most physically, right? And obviously with me shooting, but I think that's the biggest thing for people to know is I'm not training you, you know, necessarily to just be a better hunter, right? That's the whole thing. I'm not an archery coach. I'm not a shooting coach. That's not what I do.
That's a whole different conversation, dude.
Yes.
Like if you want to be successful at hunting, but like I think being in shape is one of those very it's a huge key element.
I want you to be on the mountain bag, man. I feel prepared because Zach got me to this point physically, you know, and my body feels strong. I mentally feel strong conditioning wise. And so I think that's the biggest thing.
Which a lot of hunting is confidence, man. A ton of it is.
Yeah. And a lot of people have come in have never, you know, worked out like they do at my gym, the push they get, and that's part of the community of, you know, they're lifting more than they have, or they're pushing themselves with a higher heart rate at a consistent pace that they, you know, they've never done that, and then they realize they can do it, and it does give you that confidence to say, I can go farther this year hunting, and I can go do this, and you know, luckily we do have some of the shooting aspects in it, so you know what it feels like with a high heart rate, but you know, that's it. I'm here to build your body and make you the most fit you can be for the mountains and feel safe out there. But the rest is, you know, the rest is also on you to go out and practice and shoot your bow and, you know, feel confident.
Bow hunting is such a commitment that I don't think people understand, because I've tried to help a couple other people get into it that have shown some interest. Yeah. And they're just like, I'm not interested. I don't have. Yeah. And I mean, this is with a compound. So like if you go on the traditional side, I know some psychos that do that shit. And that's the whole nother level.
Yeah. Well, and that's it. I'm a new archery hunter too. I've been shooting a bow for 4 or 5 years, right? I've been a rifle hunter my whole life, and so I'm not here to tell you, you know, how to shoot your bow and you know what to do with that, because that's not my expertise, right? I'm still getting. Obviously, you're always getting better with your bow, but I'm here to just put you in these situations with your bow and kind of coach you through how you need to be feeling or what you should be feeling and how to control your heart rate, how to control your breathing. The rest is up to you.
Which are key, man. Those are that's some of the key things, and I think, you know, having like target panic, or because it's one thing to have a high heart rate and shoot your bow, but also have a bull elk bugling at the same time. It's like screaming in your face, and like you might be holding your breath without even knowing it, dude. Like it's crazy.
And I think too, it's like it's also good to go and rifle hunt before you archery hunt, because if you've never, you know, had an animal in your scope and had that feeling of shooting at something, you know, during that situation.
There's a whole different adrenaline.
It is. And I think until you haven't experienced that, you know, whether it's obviously with a bow, it's even harder, but even with a rifle, then it's hard to comprehend what it really feels like or what you will do in that situation. So, you know, it is a good thing to grab your rifle and maybe try to go on some hunts first and kind of figure it all out, because it's that much harder when you have a bow. And so, to get that experience is number one. And then as you know, as you have more and more, you know, kills and harvests after after the years, it's like I know what I feel like in that situation with that animal in front of me.
Yeah.
And then hopefully you can take that over from...
A ton of it is on the boots on the ground experience,
It is,
man. It really is.
And just putting time out there, you know.
Yeah.
We were turkey hunting in Nebraska this weekend, and I've, you know...
Badass. How was that?
It was good. We got a double on Sunday morning in Nebraska, so it was pretty exciting. It was my first turkey. You know, I've been 3 years out there and...
Trying to go out with some buddies?
Yeah, one of my buddy Blake Nations.
Okay.
He's from Mississippi, and he lives and breathes turkey hunting. And then, you know, shout out to him because, you know, I learned everything from him, and this weekend was like the biggest learning experience of what to do, what not to do. And, you know, I've been 3 years on my own trying to do it, and obviously now I look back and I'm like, well, I'm a fucking idiot. You know, this is what I've been trying to do to get these turkeys in and go with him. And, you know, we were in action all weekend and finally got a double on Sunday morning, which was so cool. And, so you got to go with other people too and learn from their experiences. I mean, everything I've learned is from my stepfather. He passed away 6-7 years ago now, but my Uncle Tom, and, you know, that's such valuable, you know, information, but a lot of people don't have that option. And so
I'm still learning, man.
Yeah. If you have no one
I learned some shit from Donnie Dust. That's the reason why I love this podcast too. I learned some shit from him on the last episode.
Yep.
He just spent... And the reason why he went was to learn some stuff. It wasn't for like a film op or anything.
Yeah.
Even though there was a few cameras involved and he captured some of it. Super cool. But he went and lived with the Maasai in Africa and was like, that's all that these people do. They're hunter-gatherers, man. Really. Yeah. I mean, they're not like...
This isn't just for fun.
Yeah. They're not out farming. They're not out... I guess they're ranchers, right? They have the cattle and stuff.
Sure.
But they hunt and it's kind of their business too, is like outfitters is like another, or guides, right? And just like some of the little things that they were talking about, like wind meters and tracking and like, dude, it's mind blowing. And it's simple shit, but it's like if you don't have that experience or you haven't heard it from somebody or you haven't, you know, physically seen it or come up with it on your own.
Yeah. And don't be hard on yourself if you don't know this stuff, because it's hard to find mentors or, I've
been bow hunting pretty much as long as I could shoot a bow.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Just because that was my influence, you know, like I had uncles and a grandfather and stuff that's what they did.
Yeah. And we're lucky to have that.
Oh,
right?
dude, I'm so lucky,
because
man.
You learn a lot of things that you can't learn on your own, even searching the internet, you know, just little tips and tricks. And I think that's what's cool about the Rocky Mountain Strength community is we have so many new hunters that are with seasoned hunters in these classes and learning so much, and then going to hunt with them now and having a pack out buddy or having, you know, we've had more females in the gym this year.
That's the biggest thing with the pack out buddy. You hope that they're in as good a shape as you or better, dude.
Well, now with Travis Duffel going on, you know, might be a lot more trips for myself, but yeah, we have more female hunters in the gym than ever right now, which is so cool. Yeah. And that's kind of a side
There's been a huge surge in that. Yeah. Man, there's a ton. I'm trying to get some of them to come on the podcast. So if you're a badass female hunter and you're into coming on, we'd love to have you.
Yeah. I mean, it makes me so happy to see when we have, you know, a class of 20 and we have 5 or 6 women in there with the guys and working just as hard and pushing themselves and, you know, having that confidence. And, you know, some of them are even better shooters than the guys, you know, but it's just getting everyone together, because I think it's a lot of separation of men working out with men and a lot of times, you know, women sticking with women. But when you can merge that community of, you know, genders together in these classes, it's so fun to see, and just the camaraderie of it all. And so that's been huge, trying to get more and more women hunters in the gym. We have plenty of, you know, badass women that work out at the gym, but, you know, keep growing that. It's a big thing for me.
So I guess for the gym, if somebody wanted to come in and take a class, what is kind of the process? And like, what if they don't want to be a bow hunter? What if they're just like somebody that's working a 9 to 5 and they just want to be in better shape and maybe be around some of that?
Well, that's exactly it. So they can always go to the website, just shoot us an email, you know, on one of the book a class types of things. We're appointment only with everything, right? So we have open gym times, but you have to be a member, but we take that seriously in the sense of you're coming in to be with a coach, whether it's with your class or as a personal training client. So it's not just a walk-in gym in that sense. You can come in, but it doesn't mean somebody will always be
So it's not your 24-hour fitness where you get a membership and you're just on your own.
Exactly.
Right?
I mean, we are a private gym open to the public.
Gotcha.
But we want to make sure everyone's well taken care of in every sense from the minute you walk in the door. So we want to know that you're coming into the gym so we can be prepared. Like I said, know your name when you walk in, get you all set up. But going on the website, you can go in there, book a class. We're on MindBody, which is an app for kind of gyms in the area. You can go on there and book a complimentary class. We run about 30 small group classes a week, and that's the thing is, so we run strength classes. We got a strength push, pull, full body class. We got 2 conditioning classes, 2 mountain fit classes, which is kind of our, what makes us different. And that's, a general strength and conditioning class geared towards hiking, biking, skiing, having your kid on your back while you're strolling through the park type of thing. And then we have a HIIT class. So, our small group program is built for the general population, with sprinkles of the mountain fitness aspects to it. And I think people that don't even do the mountain fitness type stuff, right, don't even go to the mountains, enjoy those classes because it's different than any other class that you can take somewhere. And so that's our main kind of focus there: strength classes, conditioning, mountain fit, and HIIT. Rotate throws through for 6 weeks, so you actually see some progress. You will do the same workouts, 4 or 5 times in that 6 weeks. And then we have personal training, obviously, and that's a huge part of our business. And that's where, if you need specific help with something, and you come train for a month or 2, and then you're like, cool, I feel ready to go to the classes. And everything is modifiable in these classes. So don't be scared if these, something looks really tough, because we may have a 65-year-old lady, say grabbing 10-pound dumbbells, and we may have a 21-year-old guy,
Put me with the 65-year-old lady.
It'll probably keep you feeling better, feeling stronger. So it's a gym for everybody, and that is number one. And I want people to always know that we welcome any and everybody, and we're here to take care of you.
That's awesome, man. Because I think that's huge, especially in the outdoor community. Like intimidation, I urge anybody that owns a shop, a fitness business that's based around it, or anything like that, just be inviting these people that are coming in and are new at it, right?
Yeah.
Teach them the right way.
Yeah.
Don't have this ego like, oh, I'm some badass outdoorsman, or I know more about tying flies than you do, or I know,
100%.
more about bow hunting than you do. Like,
and there's so much of that in our industry, man.
There's a
so much
fucking ton of it,
meanness
man. I'm sick of it.
And
I'm really sick of it, man.
It's really
like,
there's a lot of disrespect on these forums, and and just meanness and slyness, and it's like I don't like to get involved with that, because I don't really want to.
There's no fucking point.
No,
there's no point, man. Just
really
fucking be a good person. Help people.
Yep.
Don't make people feel inferior if they ask a dumb question.
No, and there is
no dumb question.
There's a lot of gyms that if you're not fit enough, you don't belong here type of attitude, and maybe that works for them. Great, but we want everybody. If somebody's never touched a weight to come into our gym, and then guess what? Maybe they're on the trail team next year and they've never even done anything like that, and so. Like I said, my biggest thing is to get you into my doors and then show you new experiences that maybe you've never even done. And you think you're just joining a gym to get fit and work out, but then there's so much more to it. And let me show you what I know in Colorado and what I love to do.
What is kind of the end goal for your clients? Are they picking an athletic goal that they want to achieve, or is it like, is it kind of catered to each person?
Catered to each person.
Okay.
I think I create a lot of goals for these people, to tell you the truth, by having these different options of hikes, of trail runs, of these mountain excursions, right? So sometimes my mind is like, you don't know you can do this right now, or even have a thought, but I'm pretty much going to make you sign up for this trail team in a good way to teach you, oh, I didn't even know I liked running, or I didn't know I liked shooting a bow. Yeah, I know, right? That's what I have a few people on the team that are still like, I still don't like it. I'm like, you sure you don't like it? I think you might, but but yeah, there's a lot of options, right? And that's where the personal training also comes into play. We have, I think, 11 trainers at my gym. So if you have a specific goal, right? If you're a corrective exercise, you need help post-injury, that's the thing, as I don't do all this stuff myself, right? I have trainers that are better at, return to activity post-injury. I have people that want to just do weight loss. I'm not taking certain clients just to take them. I'm going to put them with one of my trainers that maybe knows more than me about that, or, sprint mechanics, things like that, right? Like, I'm not here to teach a high school kid how to sprint. That's not what I do, right? And I'll admit that that's not what my interest is, but I have trainers at my gym that will help you with that, with youth sports performance. So I think that's super important to know too, is I'm not just taking anybody. I'm taking people that I know best, which is, for me, hunting, backcountry stuff, mountain fitness. That is my expertise, with a strength and conditioning background.
That's awesome. And I love your approach too, with kind of, I guess, like starting with no weight, right? Like, even though you have, I'm sure, the top of the line badass equipment in your gym, I think that's super important, because like my favorite way to get in cardio is to go to jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Because I just like being in that fight or flight type
Sure.
of mentality. You know, it really helps me push myself where I probably wouldn't push myself on like the assault runner or an assault bike or something like that, right? Like being borderline killed or strangled is just my cardio's through the roof, right?
Yep.
But I've had to like kind of take a back seat on that because maybe it is because I'm getting older. It's like every time I go in, I get an injury.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden it's like fucking shooting my bow is more important to me than anything.
Yeah.
Right? For my own mental
100%.
therapy, clarity, it is
therapy.
my form of meditation. So like I'm trying to figure that out and navigate that now. I'm like, fuck, man. Like I had to stop going to jiu-jitsu because like, I don't want to be injured, man.
That's something I learned from myself is I'm always like, oh, I have to be doing these lifts every week. And I live in a gym, man. The last thing I want to do after training 5-6 clients in a row is work out, you know?
I bet.
And so for me, trail running
takes some real discipline.
Yeah. And it's also like, do I have to back squat? Do I have to deadlift for my push pull type of, it's not that, right? So I'm trying now for me, and I am getting injured. I am tweaking my back when I'm back squatting a certain amount of weight. Do I have to be doing that? Probably not, right? Is that going to help me with my sports? Not really. I should be doing a lot more unilateral, single-legged stuff, right? And core activations and lower back strengthening. And so it's me being, you know, telling myself I need to do these big lifts because that's what I've always done. But
I think also the influencer world too, like as much as, and this is no disrespect to any of these people that are out there doing this, but there's a ton of fitness influencers now and influencers in general that are just doing amazing shit, dude. Like, you know, you have Cameron Haynes running an ultra marathon and packing out 2 quarters, and
he's not normal too. You got to remember that.
Yeah.
You know, he is an excellent runner. He has, you know, amazing genetics, right? He works his ass off, sure, but you know, you can't. A lot of those people will never be able to do that, even if they tried their hardest, right? And and it's so cool to see because me as a coach, I'm looking at him like that guy is a top of the line athlete, right? Not even just hunter, not even just running. He is a straight athlete, right? And
he's a great role model.
Exactly.
But don't expect to be that, I guess, is where.
Yep. And we got a lot of people that think they can do that stuff. I'm like, you can't, right? I've been now running consistently, training myself on these trail runs for 4 or 5 years, you know, and I'm still running 9-minute miles, you know, and I'm hoping in 10 years I can run that 8-minute mile. Like it's going to take that long, you know, to get that much better in something new for me.
It is so hard to shave time. Yeah, that's one of the things I've been working on, man. Yep. It is unbelievably hard to try to shave
and we
time.
just run off our heart rates. That's the most important thing I can tell you. It's called the Petrone method.
I definitely need to talk to you.
Yeah, no, I'll make it a little more fun for you. But another thing too for me is odd object stuff. We do a lot of that at the gym. So, you know, I might just grab a 100-pound GoRuck sandball, right? And chest that and walk down the turf, right? And then drop it and do some dead ball, you know, shoulder racks. And then I have a yoke now and we'll do some yoke stuff. And so I've been trying to make my workouts to what I actually like to do, which is not your typical grabbing your dumbbells or grabbing your barbell every time. It's me grabbing different weights, odd objects, right? Offsets type stuff and just moving down the turf. And it's fun for me. It may not look fun to, you know, for other people. But it's fun
I've always kind of liked those like firefighter type workouts. That's kind of like, let's carry heavy shit. Let's carry this, you know, from there to there or whatever. Push this. Like, I think that's why I enjoy working out with kettlebells so much too.
That too.
It's like, there's so much you can do.
Yeah. No, so I think for me too, it's just keeping it different because I program for all my clients, you know, to a T in terms of the strength and conditioning. So then when it's my turn, I'm like, I don't want to do everything I just showed everybody, right? I want to do something mindless that's hard, but actually makes me feel stronger and fit. And so a lot of it has been that. And I just got to keep that up. And
sometimes it's just grabbing a shovel or a fucking rake, dude, or an axe and going
chopping wood. If I could chop wood every day for a workout, I would.
Yeah, hell
love that stuff.
I used to hate that because I was forced to do it as a kid. You know, I was like, fucking, I hate splitting wood because it was so hard.
Yeah.
And now it's like, God, is there any more wood to split?
Yeah. I'd rather do that.
I got to fire up the chainsaw.
100%.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, that's awesome. Shit, Zach, this has been awesome, man. We're coming up on time. I want to be respectful of your time. I appreciate you taking some time out of your day. I know you're fucking really busy, and I'm glad that we finally put this together. But let's definitely get up and go shoot bows.
100%.
Let's start that, and I will make it down to the gym. I need to book a private, no camera crews, no nothing.
No, I would love that.
I don't want to be embarrassed. But not only that, just come down and see the gym.
Yeah, I would
man,
love to
be
show you
rad.
what I do. I think that's most important. Like I said, until you get in the gym, I don't think you really fully understand the experience, and I love showing people things that I know that are so simple yet so effective, and it might blow your mind in the sense of, wow, I just felt that after workout and I barely even grabbed an actual weight, right?
Hell yeah.
So,
well, let's do that, and then we'll have you back. But if you have a few more minutes before we shut everything down here, what do you guys got coming up at the gym? Are there any like events, or you mentioned a trail run club that you guys are doing?
Yeah,
or something,
so
right?
we have a trail run team now. We're going to kind of keep those runs going. For the hunting side, we have a backcountry workout outside at the range in May, and we have one in June.
And that's
a single session.
in Highlands Ranch?
Highlands Ranch, yep. That's going to be on the evening, Thursday evenings. So just one in May, one in June. And we start our 6-week backcountry hunter that goes 6 weeks leading right up to September 1st, basically.
Really?
So that is going to be big. I think we had 18 people last year. I'm hoping to get 40 plus this year. That is an amazing time. You'll feel the most fit you've ever felt going into that September.
How many days a week is that?
That's just once a week, 90-minute sessions. But once you go there and realize, oh, I have a lot of work to do, obviously those people start working out on their own. You do get a free gym membership to our classes during that as well. So that's an opportunity to come in and use the gym as well while you're into that actual boot camp. So
when does that start?
That starts 6 weeks. So 6 weeks, late July. So you could say 2 weeks in July, and then I think we end it, a week before September starts. So, and that's 6 weeks. That will be posted soon. We're kind of getting all that finished up, finalized. I'm hoping to have a big year with that. So that's kind of the big hunting stuff. Other than that, we do some RMS Elite, which is kind of a harder variations of classes once a month. We have some Olympic lifting classes now. So it's really going on the website, checking the schedule, seeing what is appealing to you. Everybody gets a complimentary class to check it out. And then, if you need extra work, reach out to us for personal training. If you prefer to be a female, we have, many female trainers, males, depending on what you're looking for, we can set you up with, somebody obviously to see success.
That's awesome. Every time that you say RMS, I'm thinking Rocky Mountain Specialty Gear, because I've known the Clums for fucking ever, man.
Yep.
Shout out to those guys.
Yeah.
So just to be clear for the listeners, and the Clums have been on here a couple times, it's Rocky Mountain Strength,
Yep,
right?
correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Awesome.
So,
and then what's your guys' website? I know you have a badass Instagram too. That's where we've kind of connected on. And
So website's rockymtnstrength.com. Has everything on there you could ever need. The Instagram is Rocky Mountain Strength spelled out fully. My personal is Rocky Mountain Hunt Strong, which is my original brand. So I post a lot of cool stuff that's related to the gym on there as well. So they kind of
great hunting photos
all coincide.
on there too.
Yeah. So you got the hunting prep on the website. You got our small group classes. You can see our coaches. You can see kind of the upcoming events. Our new facility is pretty spectacular in my mind.
It looks badass, dude.
12-foot ceilings, everything I could have ever wanted. And it was my first chance to really build out a gym exactly how I wanted to. So
I can't wait to come.
Pretty excited about that. It still smells like fresh rubber in there, So get in while it's still smelling good and brand new. And, it's only hopefully up from here. And we're excited for the future of the business. And, once again, we can't do any of this without our community and our coaches. So, it's not about me. It's about everything that we've built together. And we want to continue that.
That's badass, man. Well, thanks again. Go visit if you live in the Colorado area, or if you're just in town. Come visit Rocky Mountain Strength. Come visit Zach and his team, and get after it.
Appreciate you.
All right.
It's been great.
Thanks, Zach.
Thanks, sir.
Appreciate it. Thanks for listening to the Mountainside Podcast. If you haven't had a chance to do this already, please take a moment, follow, like, subscribe, or rate on whatever platform you catch the Mountainside Podcast at. If you'd like some more information on upcoming episodes, safety tips, access to all of our affiliates, and all the badass discounts that we get here at the Mountainside Podcast, check out themountainsidepodcast.com.